For players looking for something a little bit different, WrestleQuest is unique in that it's unlike any other wrestling game currently on the market, as rather than take the form of a traditional fighting game, WrestleQuest offers up a fresh take on the sport by mixing the world of wrestling with a classic top-down RPG. The game sees players take control of the Muchacho Man Randy Santos, a local wrestler who dreams of following in the footsteps of his idol, the Macho Man Randy Savage. The adventure that you embark on is actually told through the use of toys, with Muchacho Man and all the other characters that you encounter taking the form of toys, some of which you will recognise as classic knockoff versions of classic kids' toys, including Lego Men, He-Man, and even a Mr. Potato Head. While the Muchacho Man is aware of the fact that he's a toy, he's unaware of the scripted nature of the wrestling business, with Muchacho under the impression that everything is real, while the other characters are all self-aware and frequently mention storylines and writers, leaving the Muchacho Man confused. Starting out in a local gym, players are introduced to the game's wrestling mechanics, which utilises a turn-based system similar to classic RPG games like Final Fantasy. Actions available include the ability to perform an attack, which is a standard strike attack that will occasionally utilise quick time events to keep you on your toes, as nailing the button prompts will allow you to deal extra damage. Also available are gimmicks, which are your more powerful wrestling manoeuvres, where you're able to perform special moves like the South of the Border Stunner, though these moves come at the cost of AP, meaning you'll have to manage them alongside regular attacks so that you don't run out. Aside from moves, players can also opt to perform a taunt, which is used as a buff to help increase stats and build up hype for the match, which is then tied to the main hype meter that, when filled, will reward the player with bonus items at the conclusion of the match. The way that you win matches will vary depending on the situation, as some matches will end after knocking out all of your opponents, while others will take the form of a traditional wrestling match and require that you pin your opponents, which you can do so using the pin option within the gimmick menu. Selecting the pin option brings up the pin minigame, which is a pretty straightforward game that sees you time a button press as the arrow moves over the green bar, with each successful press representing the referee's count. Timing 3 of these will lead to a successful pinfall, while missing the bar will cause your opponent to kick out. As you progress through the game, you'll encounter various side characters that will join your party, with this then leading to new actions within matches, such as teaming up to perform double and triple team moves, or having a manager in your corner to build up some hype. Outside of the combat, the game takes on the form of a classic RPG game that sees you travel from town to town in pursuit of a tryout match for a major promotion, with the world, or the toy box as it's referred to, being made up of various toys and household items, which make exploring the areas fun, as the style of the game and the pixel art lead to some gorgeous looking environments. After starting out as the Muchacho Man, it's not long before you find yourself switching characters, as alongside Randy, WrestleQuest also tells the story of Brink Logan, a wrestler who appears to be based on Bret the Hitman Hart, with a little bit of the Terminator mixed in for good measure. Unlike the Muchacho Man, who comes from nothing, Brink Logan is in the rather fortunate position of being the son of a promoter, where he's constantly booked in matches alongside his tag team partner, a moose named Stag Logan, with the pair going by the tag team name The Honest Bucks. Coming from a wrestling family, Brink Logan is well aware of the wrestling business and the way that it works, with this then playing into the story, as you'll occasionally encounter dramatic moments during matches that see you tasked with certain objectives, some of which are mandatory to further the story, while others are optional to gain rewards. These objectives take on a similar vein to the objectives seen in the 2K showcase within the WWE games, such as performing a specific move or letting a player kick out of a pinfall. Outside of the combat, a large part of the game is made up of exploration, as each territory that you travel to features its own unique look and feel, with each town filled with buildings to explore and characters to speak to, some of which you may recognise, as the game includes appearances from various online personalities, including some familiar names from YouTube. Also making an appearance is wrestling promoter Conrad Thompson, who tells the story of the game on his podcast, with Conrad setting the stage between chapters. In terms of wrestling stars, WrestleQuest also features several legendary names, including the Macho Man Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, Jake the Snake Roberts, the Road Warriors, Jeff Jarrett, British Bulldog, and Sergeant Slaughter, all of which can be encountered on your journey through the toy box, as each of the areas is themed around a particular legend. To give you an example of their uses, Macho Man can be found in the starting area, while Sergeant Slaughter heads up the military base to the north. As you traverse the world, you'll also come across several shrines that pay homage to that territory's legend, each of which are designed as though they were set up by the child that's telling the story, with makeshift statues that see everyday items like pots of cream used to create a monument, which is then topped off with an action figure. As you explore the towns, you can also come across several characters that offer up special side quests, though some of them require that you return to the area at a later time. Borrowing from classic RPGs, certain towns and connecting areas also take on the form of what are essentially dungeons, where the player will have to find their way through the area solving puzzles to open up different paths, collecting treasure, and, as with most RPGs, facing off against a number of minions that block your way. These battles serve as a means of helping players to level up ahead of boss fights, with the difficulty of these battles varying depending on the area and the type of opponent that you meet. Most of these battles can be won in a few short minutes, however there were instances where I found them to be more of a challenge, especially when playing as Brink and Stag, as despite only appearing as a single character on the map, encounters always tend to see you fight 3 enemies, and because of this, should you forget restore your health before a battle, this can leave you fighting 3-on-1 should your partners have passed out. This was the only real negative that I had for the game, as there's no warnings before matches that your health is low, therefore should you go into a fight without replenishing your health or your AP, then you can find yourself in a losing battle. Because of this, one suggestion I would have for players is to try and save the game as often as possible, as in keeping with classic RPGs, there doesn't appear to be an autosave, though players can pause the game at any point and save their game. From my time playing WrestleQuest, I really enjoyed it, and I think if you're a wrestling fan, and especially an RPG fan, I think this is a game that you really will enjoy, though if you're only a fan of one of those, it may be a little bit hard to get into, as the wrestling aspect with the lingo and the references are all things that wrestling fans will pick up on straight away, though a lot of the same things will go over the head of non-fans. So to sum things up, WrestleQuest is a great classic RPG experience that seems to be tailored towards more of an older player base that grew up watching wrestling in the late 80s and 90s, as well as playing RPG games on the NES, and I think if you fall into that bracket, then this is definitely something that you'll be interested in, as it's steeped with nostalgia, both in terms of the gameplay, the environments, and the characters, though I also think there's a lot here for new players too, as this is a full-on RPG game with plenty to do, whether that be completing the main story, searching for treasure, upgrading your items, doing side quests, or even just walking around and taking in some of the gorgeous environments. WrestleQuest has something here for everyone. So that's my review of WrestleQuest. It's hard to really compare it to anything, as it's unique in its approach, but I think that's something that it should be commended for, as it offers up a fresh take on the wrestling genre to bring us something quite unique. So let me know what you make of it in the comments, as I would love to hear your takeaway based on the video and whether or not it's a game that you plan to purchase. Until next time though, thank you so much for watching this video, have yourself an awesome day, and I'll catch you later.